In the program, I want to read and then I want to say a few things. Donley guided the Skyhawk softball program to 581 victories, fourth most in OVC history during his 18 seasons at the helm. He led UT Martin to a pair of OVC regular season championships, 2 OVC Tournament titles, and 3 postseason appearances, including the program's first 2 NCAA Tournament appearances in 2009 and 2012. 2-time OVC Coach of the Year, Owensboro, Kentucky native, coached 2 OVC Players of the Year, a pair of OVC Pitchers of the Year, 2 OVC Tournament Most Valuable Players, 4 OVC Freshmen of the Year, and 99 All-OVC selections. That is impressive, extremely impressive. Yeah, absolutely. On a personal note, I know that in our lives, a lot of us have this thing that we like to do. We have quirks, we have these annual things that we like to do. I have these yearly things that I do every year. For instance, on New Year's Day, I have black-eyed peas and cornbread with my mother and cooked cabbage. For some reason, I'm supposed to be rich, but it hasn't happened yet. I watch the final day of the Masters, and once a year, I always go, when I'm at Tennessee Tech, to look at Donley's plaque at Tech, because he got into the Hall of Fame there as a baseball player many years ago. And that's part of this story. That's part of why he is here now. Personally, on a personal note, I want to say thank you, because now I don't have to drive 4 hours to look at you on a plaque. I can walk over to the Elam Center. So I certainly appreciate that. You've also saved me about 230 miles. This story for Donley goes back to Tech, because Phil pitched at Tennessee Tech. Donley played outfield at Tennessee Tech in 1978. Am I right? In 78. Became friends. Phil was impressed by Donley's passion and energy and his just competitive spirit. If you've ever been around, you just look at him and you can see it's just oozing out of him, right? And Phil tells this story that back then, after practice was over at Tech, Phil would throw batting practice to Donley. Buckets and buckets and buckets of balls. Matter of fact, Phil might have thrown his arm out just throwing batting practice to Donley. And Jenny would be out there in the outfield getting the balls and putting them back in the bucket, and they'd throw another bucket. Now, I don't know about you all, but if I had a time machine, I might not go back to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. I might go to that moment when Phil Dane's throwing batting practice to Donley and Jenny. And that's the work ethic that Phil knew about Donley. So ultimately, when UT Martin needed a softball coach, fast forward to 2001, Phil knew that competitive spirit, that intensity, and wanted Donley Canary. History was changed in softball at UT Martin. Donley, I talked to Sarah Dawes. As you know, she couldn't be here. She's coaching today. She played and coached with you for 16 years. I told her, of all the people that know you, Jen is probably number 1. She might be number 2. You don't know this, I don't think, unless she told you when you talked to her last night. But Donley's a fast talker. You kind of have to keep up with him. Your ears have to go as fast as his mouth does. And he says these really funny things that might not hit you until later. She told me in the early 2000s, before Facebook and Instagram, back when they had AOL dial-up, they created this internet group called Canary's Corner. Do you know about this? And they would take your quotes from practice every day, and they would, this was before Reddit and all this stuff, and they would compile your quotes in this document that was available only to the players who had access to it on AOL. I have worked for the last 3 days tirelessly trying to get this document, and I'm going to get it before it's all said and done, and we might write a book. One of your favorite sayings, she said, was, "Life isn't fair. As you get older, life gets harder." That's a famous Donley quote. And don't be intimidated by that other team. They put their pants on one leg at a time just like you do. Also a famous Donley. Leah's shaking her head. Did you know? Yeah, y'all didn't do anything like that, did you? I agree with so many. You could also go in the Hall of Fame as a groundskeeper, because when softball wasn't going on, if we ever drove by the field, you were out there working on it. Sarah told me that was your form of meditation. So some people do yoga, some people meditate. You moment and thought and figured things out. Jenny, I want to mention you too, because you're a big part of this. I've never seen a spouse as supportive as you when it comes to a coach, and I mean that. The meals and calories you have put together for this community, for the staff and athletics and coaches. Amazing. Chess square is the best in the history of chess squares. Everybody will agree with that. And I keep hearing about this magic backpack that you would carry on bus trips. And I rode a bus with you one time to a football game. And if you can imagine those women in church that have everything you could ever imagine in their purse, chapstick, candy, Band-Aids, hats, kitchen sinks, she had all that and was ready for it. So you're part of this, and I wanted to acknowledge that for you. This man, by far, deserves to go into the Hall of Fame, and it's happening right now. Put your hands together for Donley Canary.
It seems kind of surreal to be standing up here, and people with masks and people without masks. A year and a half, I know, for everybody, but I'm going to try to get through all this. First of all, good morning to everybody. I want to say, if you don't know, all coaches, all head coaches, we're control freaks. We want to control all facets of the game, whatever it might be. And we're also big talkers with lots of drawn out stories and explanations. Well, today, as former head coach, I'm going to try to get through this, make it short, for everybody's going to be a strong point today. First, I'd like to thank the nominating committee and the selection committee for this award. It's one that I not expect in the university or athletics department. Next, it's a real privilege to go into the University of Tennessee Martin Hall of Fame with 3 former outstanding student athletes, Derek Carr, Leah Taylor, and Lester Hudson. I got to watch all 3 of these people perform on the basketball court, the gridiron, and I got to coach Leah when she's on the softball field. Leah, I was even present when you got into the Hall of Fame in Owensboro. Came that night, went to that, and it seemed like it's kind of all full circle, girl. So it's really kind of neat. Also, this award is special to me for being inducted with 2 of my fellow coaches, Terry Carpenter and Dennis Taylor. They're both friends. And these 2 gentlemen and myself served on the coaching staff here at UT Martin for my entire tenure for 18 years. Both were excellent coaches of their sport. They were demanding of their players, fierce competitors, and truly deserving this honor, recognizing their coaching skills and accomplishments. First, I want to recognize some people that are here. I got to meet a lot of people last night. I had phone calls. 2 of the girls called. They both had COVID and couldn't come. And I didn't want them to come and bring that here. But it's got to meet a lot of people last night. And that was fun to get to just sit and talk for too late, and then had to get up early this morning. But first, I want to recognize some people that are here to support me on this special occasion. First, Phil and Debbie Dane. They were longtime friends from Tennessee Tech University. We probably met in about 1974 is when we probably met. And Phil's a teammate on the baseball team with me, a friend after that, and he was my boss for 13 years at the University of Tennessee at Martin. Jerry Carver and I used to often joke there ought to be a monument of Phil right outside the Elam Center, or a statue. And the reason I say that is because Phil was responsible for getting a activities fee passed by the students in 2007 and generated, I would say, about $600,000. And it helped all the teams here at UT Martin compete. It helped us with travel budgets, it helped us build facilities, it helped us with expenditures, things that we didn't have. And it helped us put us really on a level playing field with all the rest of the other OVC teams. And you can see about that time, that's when all the sports started really moving forward. Further, I want to say thanks to him for taking a chance on a former baseball coach with only 1 year of softball coaching experience at the collegiate level. And hopefully, it turned out all right for both parties. And I did it the way you wanted me to, Phil, the way you envisioned it happening. Next, I want to recognize Miss Janice Noble. And if you've ever been around UT Martin athletics as a coach, player, or even supporter, you have to know this lady. Also, I'd be terribly remiss if I didn't mention her late husband, the Dr. Tom Noble. Miss Janice and he attended many athletic events that financially benefited many sports here at the university. The Nobles opened their home to the softball team every year for an occasional meal once or twice, and I know they did it with other teams as well, so it wasn't just the softball team that benefited from that. Furthermore, the Nobles supported our many fundraising efforts of the softball program. Funny thing is, no one ever had to ask the Nobles for help. They came and asked myself, they came and asked Sarah, they even went directly to the players and asked them. So Ms. Noble, thank you for everything you did for us, you and Mr. Tom did. A young lady that came into our lives late here at UT Martin, Allison Coleman Smalley, is here this morning. And Allison lived with Jenny and I for 2 different occasions while she was completing her degree. She did it in 3.5 years. Allison is the epitome of a workaholic. Between her and my wife, I don't think there's anything they couldn't get done. Allison lived with us the last time when I had some surgeries on my back and knee. I couldn't get out, feed the cows, mow the lawn, go get the mail, and it was always a race between us. I was trying to get out the door and Allison was trying to shut the door so I could escape from the house. And Allison, thank you and your husband Trey for being such special young people and being good friends with Jenny and I. Now, there's two people that aren't here today. I know Miss Giles is sick, and Miss Seal was in the hospital last night. And but two people I think need to be talked about: Miss Betty Giles and Seal Grassfeder. They're both special friends of the UT Martin softball program. These two ladies prioritized women's sports here at the university. Their financial support the softball team for 18 years includes scholarship support and large ticket items that we simply couldn't afford with our budget. Ms. Giles is nationally recognized as a founder, developer, and leader in Title IX legislation, the AINW, and that's the early form of the NCAA for women's athletics, and also in the early stages of the NCAA when it came into effect in 1982. UT Martin Athletics is so lucky to have enjoyed her leadership and support over these years. It's truly fitting UT's softball field is named after her. Again, both of these ladies were very good friends over the years, and Jenny and I used to go to their house. I would lay down on the floor and relax. Jenny would be laying on the couch, and they'd be sitting in their chair eating homemade cookies. And those were great times, things I'll never forget. If I don't want to recognize my wife for 44 years of marriage, I'm not sure how she's put up with me that long. Our marriage has been one of many adventures across this great country. Moving twice in the state of Tennessee for school, and then for job opportunities on the East Coast in North Carolina. Then we moved to the frozen tundra of the upper Midwest in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when she was 7 months pregnant. And then back to Florida, and then back to the Midwest in Nebraska. Then finally we settled here in Tennessee for 26 years before we retired and headed to the southern circuit of Georgia, which lasted all of 11 months. We sold our house in 13 days, moved to Cookville with a friend and stayed there for a month, and then finally got to Kansas City, Missouri in September the 15th. So, Jenny never meets a stranger, and she can make a home for us wherever we choose to lay our heads. This has allowed me to pursue my dream of coaching and not having to have what I call a real job, but most of you all in here have, because coaching is too much fun. Coaching is what I love to do, so thrills me sitting on the sidelines. We are busy now throwing our attention to a new adventure at Johnson County Community College. Myself on the baseball field coaching, and Jenny doing the athletic events at the college. And Jenny, thank you for all your love and support all these years. And there are two other people I want to mention today that aren't here. And Chris alluded to Sarah. Sarah Dawes was here for 4 years as a player, 1 year as my student assistant coach, and then 11 years as my assistant coach. She was loyal to me almost to a fault. Sarah bleeds orange and blue. She really does. But she just couldn't come back today, and I want to tip my hat to her for all that she did for UT Martin softball over the years. Finally, my son David, who coached at Johnson County, he called and asked me 2 days after I'd been offered a high school head coaching job in St. Simon's if I would come to their college. Their head coach retired. And for us, that was a no-brainer. Like I say, we got it all together and took off. And we absolutely love Kansas City. Jenny's the mom of 43 boys, and Kansas City really always is absolutely freaking awesome. We're 15 miles from Royal Stadium. The Chiefs, everybody there, we're Titans fans, but it's a lot of fun. We played them in a couple of weeks, and Jenny and I are going to that game. David's really helped me. The game of baseball has evolved a lot since 2000 when I left it. But we have a super program. He coaches third base and works with the infielders. I coach first base and work with the outfielders. And we both get to work with the hitters. My goal there is to get to the NCAA World Series. We've already coached at the NCAA Regional for baseball and softball, so I want to get to the World Series in Grand Junction. And we might have a good enough team to do it. This past summer, I coached an elite 14-year-old team, and we won the Midwest Perfect Game World Series. And the little boys texted me last night. They had a doubleheader. They played without me, and they came back and scored 7 runs in the last inning and won 8-7. So they were excited, and now we get to play Sunday. And they're really fired up about that. Confucius. Everybody's heard about Confucius. Confucius was a wise Chinese philosopher and businessman. Back in 500 BC, he said, find something that you love to do, you never coach a day, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, I found something, it was coaching. And to me, not really matter whether it was baseball or softball. You have to be able to run a little bit, hit the ball, throw it, and catch it. I had a real job early in my career. I worked for some big companies, Ralston, Carina, Archer Daniels, Midland, Seymour Farms, and Neutron. But, coaching is the thing, because those other jobs are very mundane. They pay well, but there's a lot more to me to life than just money. Coaching student athletes that work within university athletics, no 2 days are the same. Our coaches know that. Something challenging is always occurring. At UT Martin, I taught classes early on, served as an academic coach, a strength coach, a maintenance man, a housekeeper, a fundraiser, field groomer, project engineer, and in my spare time I got to coach a little bit of softball. So, did a lot. I believe in our program at university. It's a great educational and athletic experience. I felt that a student athlete at UT Martin pursued a private school education at a public school price. I am so proud of the doctors, lawyers, teachers, nurses, and other respected professions that these young ladies achieved through their educational endeavors. And yes, we weren't too shabby on the softball field either. Former UT Martin softball players I recruited and coached, like Kendra Costco, Kristen Runyon, Nicole Davis, Megan Williams, Jenny Bain, and now Leah Taylor, made my job a heck of a lot easier. Several other softball players will follow these ladies into the Hall of Fame in the not too distant future. I was fortunate to have great players and many good players play for me over 18 years. It was hard to make it, screw it up too bad, I guess is what I wanted to say. So we played all the competition we could, and we were extremely competitive for a so-called mid-major school. You can ask Ole Miss, Ohio State, Maryland, Southern, Ohio private programs that fell to our Skyhawk softball program over the years. And as promised, I'm going to make this short and sweet. So I know you have 5 little people that need to talk. I'm going to finish up by saying this. But in closing, let me say, the City of Martin and the University of Tennessee at Martin are very special places where a student athlete or coach to reside in for a few years of their career. Places such as the Elam Center, Skyhawk Fieldhouse, La Cabana, the Hart, Rural King, the Soybean Festival, Wendy's, K&N, Food Turtles onto that, 3 Point Grocery are all dear to my heart. Maybe you don't appreciate them at that moment or time, but over the years you realize the uniqueness of each of these places or events. They cannot be copied or matched. For a grinder like me in the coaching profession, they make time here in Martin, they made my time here in Martin a fun and enjoyable experience. Again, I want to thank all of those responsible for this great day, and have a good day and enjoy the university.